It started like any other friendship. We laughed, shared secrets, and spent hours talking about our dreams. But then, out of nowhere, things changed. I was blindsided. I thought I knew this person, but I was wrong. I trusted them with everything. My hopes, my fears, and my heart. And in return, they did something I never saw coming. Something that broke me. Let me tell you the story of the friend who betrayed me. My name is Lily, and I want to share with you a story. A story about trust, betrayal, and the painful lessons that come when you realize someone you loved and trusted is no longer the person you thought they were. It wasn't always this way. There was a time when she was my closest friend. We did everything together. We were inseparable. But I learned the hard way that not all friendships are as they seem. And sometimes, the people we trust the most can be the ones who hurt us the deepest. This is my story. The story of the friend who betrayed me. It was during my first year of college when I met Sarah. At first, it was nothing special. We were just two strangers sitting next to each other in a lecture hall. I remember the sound of the professor's voice drifting in the background, but all I could focus on was Sarah. She had this quiet confidence about her that drew me in. Her smile was warm and inviting, and her laugh was easy and carefree. We started talking about the class material, but before I knew it, we were talking about everything else. We shared stories about our lives, our families, and even our dreams. It felt so natural, so easy. It wasn't long before we started meeting outside of class. We went for coffee after lectures, sat together during lunch breaks, and found ourselves staying up late talking about everything under the sun. There was something about her that made me feel safe, like I could trust her with anything. At first it was small things we bonded over. The fact that we both loved old movies, or how we both had a soft spot for animals. But as time went on, our connection deepened. She became more than just a friend to me. She became my confidant. I told her things I hadn't even shared with my closest family members. She was the one who knew about my deepest insecurities, and the one who celebrated my victories, no matter how small they seemed. There was a sense of peace in our friendship. I had always struggled to make lasting connections with people, but with Sarah, it was different. We clicked. It felt like we were two halves of the same whole. She understood me in ways that no one else did. And I thought, maybe this was it. The kind of friendship that would last forever. But, as with all things in life, nothing stays perfect forever. Something was coming, and I had no idea how quickly everything would change. It wasn't until a few months into our friendship that I began to notice some strange things about Sarah. It started with little things, like how she would cancel plans last minute, or how she would act distant when I needed her the most. I told myself it was just stress from school or personal issues she was dealing with. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then, there was the time when I needed her the most. I was going through a tough breakup. I had just ended a relationship that I thought was going to last forever. I was devastated. I reached out to Sarah, hoping for comfort and support. But when she came over, it wasn't what I expected. She barely listened to me. Instead, she spent most of the time talking about her own problems, completely disregarding what I was going through. I felt invisible. Still, I forgave her. After all, friends go through rough patches. I thought this was just one of those moments. So, I pushed it aside, thinking it was just a phase. Things didn't improve, though. In fact, they got worse. It all came to a head one night when Sarah invited me to a party. She told me she wanted me to come so we could hang out. But when I arrived, she wasn't there. I called her, but she didn't pick up. I felt a wave of confusion rush over me. What was going on? I stood there in the middle of a crowded room, everyone laughing and chatting, but I felt completely alone. It was strange to be there without her, especially since she had promised we'd hang out. After a while, I decided to leave. I told myself maybe she had gotten caught up with something. Maybe she was busy, or maybe she was just running late. I didn't want to overthink it. But as I walked out of the room, something caught my eye. There, standing by the entrance, was Sarah. But she wasn't alone. She was standing with my ex-boyfriend, Daniel. The very same one I had spent months grieving over. The one I thought I'd never get over. My heart skipped a beat, then slammed against my chest. I couldn't breathe. My legs froze. I couldn't move, couldn't think. I just stood there, watching them. They were laughing, talking so comfortably with each other, like they didn't even see me. I felt this cold wave of nausea settle in my stomach. I was torn between walking up to them and confronting them or running away to avoid the suffocating pain rising in my chest. I stood there for what felt like forever, my breath shallow and my hands trembling. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why. Why didn't they tell me? Why would Sarah do this to me? But instead, I just stood there, feeling completely betrayed, feeling invisible. The two people I trusted the most had just ripped my heart out in front of me, and I didn't even have the strength to fight back. It wasn't just about seeing them together. It was the fact that Sarah knew how much he had hurt me. She knew, and yet she still chose to stand by him, to laugh with him, to act like everything was fine. That's when I realized I couldn't trust her anymore. I couldn't trust anyone who would treat me like this. The betrayal felt like a sharp knife twisting inside me, and it would take a long time before I could heal from it. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen. I couldn't shake the image of Sarah and my ex together. I had to confront her. So, I called her, and we agreed to meet at a cafe. I tried to remain calm as I sat down across from her. My hands were shaking, but I didn't want her to see how much this was affecting me. Sarah, I started, my voice trembling. Why were you with him last night? Why didn't you tell me about it? She looked at me, her face turning pale. Lily, I didn't mean for you to find out this way. It's complicated. Complicated? I repeated, feeling the sting of her words. How is this complicated? You're my best friend. You knew how much I was hurting after the breakup, and you still went behind my back with him. Sarah remained silent for a moment, avoiding my gaze. I'm sorry, okay? But we've been talking, and we've connected in ways I didn't expect. I didn't want to hurt you. At that moment, I felt my world shatter. The person I had trusted the most had betrayed me. It wasn't just about my ex anymore. It was about the fact that Sarah, the one person I thought I could always rely on, had chosen him over me. Do you even care how this makes me feel? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You've broken my heart, Sarah. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. I didn't want this to happen, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But I can't take back what happened. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I tried to go on like everything was normal, but nothing felt right. Every time I saw Sarah, I was reminded of the betrayal. Every time I saw my ex, I couldn't help but feel sick to my stomach. I realized something. Trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. And no matter how much I tried to move on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. But I also realized something else. I didn't need someone who would hurt me like that. I didn't need a friend who would betray my trust in the worst possible way. And I didn't need someone in my life who made me feel small, like I didn't matter. It wasn't easy, but I slowly started to heal. I distanced myself from Sarah and my ex. I focused on the people who truly cared about me. I spent time with my family, who were my biggest support system. And, over time, I learned to trust myself again. Looking back, I realized that the betrayal wasn't just about the pain it caused me. It was about understanding who I truly was. I learned that I didn't need to depend on anyone else for my happiness. I could stand on my own 2 feet and build the life I wanted, free from the toxic people who tried to bring me down. The friendship that once meant everything to me is now just a memory. A painful, bitter memory. But it taught me something important. Not everyone who comes into your life is meant to stay. Some people are only there to teach you lessons, and others are meant to stay. And when you let go of the ones who hurt you, you make room for the people who truly love you and have your back. I'll never forget what happened, but I'm stronger now. I know that betrayal doesn't define me. It's the way I rise from it that matters. And if you're going through something similar, just remember, you deserve better. You deserve people who will always have your back, no matter what. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been betrayed, or if this story resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share.